There truly is never a dull day in the UFC. While we all wait for UFC 273 later this week, new rivalries and feuds have already started brewing for the future. In the most recent news, Gilbert Burns has called out Colby Covington for avoiding fights with him and other top welterweight contenders. So stay tuned as we talk more about Gilbert Burns' comments and bring you some more fiery news from the fighting ring. So what did Gilbert Burns say? All fighters dream of their moment in the spotlight. They all want to take a shot at the gold and be the greatest. And the Brazilian welterweight fighter, Gilbert Burns, is no different. He wants that welterweight title. He missed his chance at the belt, suffering a defeat at the hands of the current champion, Kamaru Usman. Now he wants another go at it, and fighting Colby Covington seems to be the fastest way for him to get that chance. So a fight between the two might be on the cards in the future. Having said all of that, Burns has recently come out guns blazing, taking shots at Covington for avoiding a fight with him. On the podcast, he said that he's been trying to lock a fight with Covington for a long time now, but Colby keeps dodging him. Covington, after his fight with former teammate Jorge Masvidal, called out another one of his former teammates, Dustin Poirier, saying that he was coming for him next. And Burns had quite a lot to say on this. Speaking on a podcast, he said that Covington dropped the ball when he asked for a fight against the lightweight contender, Dustin Poirier, and not someone from his own weight division. Calling him out even further, Burns said that getting Colby to accept his fight is the hardest part, saying that he's been trying to fight him for years, but he just never agrees to it. Now, there's no denying that Colby Covington isn't the most popular character in the UFC, a fighter who has fully embraced the persona of a heel athlete that riles people up with everything he does. He might not make the best first impression, but he sure knows how to throw a punch. Just coming back from an incredibly dominant performance in UFC 272, where he absolutely crushed his former gym partner and best mate, Jorge Masvidal. His fight with Masvidal made him the #1 contender for the welterweight title. His only 6 defeats in the last 6 years have come at the hands of Kamaru Usman twice, making his tally go to 17-3. Burns has an impressive record as well, beating Stephen Thompson in his last bout in the Octagon, only losing once since he entered the welterweight division against Kamaru Usman, now standing with an overall record of 20-4. A fight between these two could definitely be a treat. Burns, however, doesn't think it's likely. On the podcast, he said that Colby doesn't like to go up against anyone coming off of a win. He mocks the idea of Colby being a champion if it weren't for Usman, saying that he refuses to face any other big contenders and only fights nobodies. Talking about the likelihood of a fight with Covington, he said that he wants the fight, but he doesn't know if Covington would agree to it. He praises Colby's ability to negotiate well, and says that there's nothing he can really do about it. Taking even more shots at Chaos, he says that he doesn't think that Colby is the monster or king of cardio like everyone thinks he is, adding that Chaos only fights people near the end of their career, like his former best mate, Masvidal, and does well against them. Durinho finally ends up reiterating by saying that he would love a fight with Colby, and that he is certainly at the top of his list. Oh man, that was a lot. A matchup between these two to see who'd be the top challenger for the title would definitely be something. Next, Gilbert Burns on Covington versus Masvidal. Colby Covington versus Jorge Gamebred Masvidal was a fight everyone had been waiting for a long time. The two were former gym mates and best friends who had a bitter falling out and were set to face each other in the main event of UFC 272. On fight night, Covington won by unanimous decision against Masvidal, utterly dominating his former teammate. On the podcast, Gilbert Burns also talked about the fight, saying that it was a good performance by Colby, but that Masvidal was also to blame. Talking about the fight, Durinho said that he was backing Masvidal, but when he entered the ring, saw that the guy wasn't really ready for the fight. Burns commented that Masvidal didn't look in the best shape, and that it was his undoing in the fight. He also gave a sort of backhanded compliment to Colby, saying that he's good at takedowns, but isn't really great when it comes to striking like other hard-hitting fighters. Fighters like Khabib, who take you down and then finish you off with their ground and pound striking. Burns said that the outcome of the fight wasn't anything unexpected, and that it wasn't really a big deal. Ooh, he's really not holding back at all. Burns went on, talking about why he actually wanted Masvidal to win the fight, saying that he wasn't really a fan of Covington's foul-mouthed trash-talking. He did make it clear that trash-talking was fair game, but feels that there is a line, and Colby often ends up crossing that line. Burns says that he doesn't agree with the kind of disrespect that Colby gives his opponents, mentioning instances where he dissed Brazil, Dustin Poirier's wife, his family, and even Masvidal's ex-wife and kids. Making his disdain for Colby known, the Brazilian fighter finally said out loud that he has lost all respect for Covington. Up next, it's time for us to talk about some more news from the Octagon. Stay tuned. Henry Cejudo has some advice for McGregor. Henry Cejudo and Conor McGregor have been engaging in a war of words with each other for weeks now. Just recently, the Irishman uploaded a video on Twitter of him training back home in Crumlin Boxing Club, on which Cejudo didn't mince his words. Cejudo, who is now a professional coach, quickly chimed in with his 2 cents on what he thought McGregor was doing wrong and his training. Triple C critiqued McGregor and commented that instead of working on his combinations like a boxer, he should be paying more attention to his setups, work his level changes, and traps for his opponents, ending his tweet by saying that these were just tips courtesy of the GOAT, obviously referring to himself. It's worth pointing out, however, that Conor was training inside a boxing club, not to mention the fact that he's just coming back from a major injury that put him out for months. So it's probably not very easy for him to train the complex movement patterns that an MMA fighter needs to work on. He probably wants to find his rhythm once again before letting loose, and what better place to do it at the gym where he began his training before joining the MMA. Next, Holly Holm. Return, injury, and retirement rumors. Holly Holm is set to make her return in May, almost 19 months after her last match in the UFC. The one-time bantamweight champion, in a dominant display, beat Irene Aldana all the way back in October 2020. Just as she was gearing up for another shot at the title, her whole world virtually came crashing down. She was diagnosed with hydronephrosis, which causes swelling in the kidneys. After getting through that, she had to book a fight in the featherweight division, but couldn't go through with it after suffering a knee injury in her final days of training camp. Ill fortune upon ill fortune befell the former champion, and now as she sets her eyes on a return to the ring, she is now faced with questions about her future in the sport. She says that she definitely understands that her time away puts her at a disadvantage, but can't help but feel super frustrated when people ask her if she is retired. She says that she wants to show people that even at age 40, she still has it in her to fight and win the championship, and she believes that her last fight should be enough for people to not underestimate her. On her return in May, Holm is set to fight Ketlin Vieira. Right now, she says she's only focused on her upcoming fight, but hopes that she can go against all odds and continue to fight until she physically can't anymore. Wow, that is some commitment. We truly wish her the best of luck in her future. Lastly, Israel Adesanya places his bets for Burns versus Chimaev. Gilbert Burns and Khamzat Chimaev are ready to go head-to-head this Saturday night at UFC 273. It's a big fight for both of these contenders, especially Chimaev. The young up-and-coming star of the organization looks to further solidify his name in the ring. But first, he needs to get past the vastly experienced Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu expert Gilbert Burns. Weighing in with his opinion on the fight, middleweight champion and the guy who's known as the last stylebender, Israel Adesanya, said that this was Chimaev's best opponent yet. He praises Burns for his expertise as a BJJ martial artist, and says that it's good that he's now at the welterweight because it suits him better. But Adesanya believes that Chimaev, who stands at a 10-0 record, is on a roll. That's a wrap for this video. See you in the next one.